Hi, and welcome to Crafts with Ash. My name's Ashley, and today I am so excited to bring you 5 Kirkland's dupes that you can do for summer. I went through their whole website and picked out some great items that I thought that I could recreate with Dollar Tree items. But first, before we get into that, if you would be so kind to subscribe to my YouTube channel, then hit that little notification bell so you can get notified anytime I upload a new video. Also, if you're loving what you're seeing today, don't forget to give my video a thumbs up because it really helps my channel to grow. Then hop on over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me there. I share some behind the scenes content that I know you wouldn't want to miss. All right, let's get started with these Kirkland dupes. The first dupe we'll be recreating is a little bird feeder, and I loved this when I saw it on the website, but I did not like the price tag. But I knew that I had all the items to make it, so I went for it. So I started off by taking apart that little metal flower that I got from the Dollar Tree, and then I grabbed this little glass candlestick. Now I needed to put the glass candlestick, I needed to glue it to the metal flower, but there's a dip in the flower, so I just cut off a piece of wood and super glued it to the back of the flower. And then I hot glued the candlestick to the wood. Now, eventually you'll see me fight this thing because I kind of forgot. Hot glue doesn't really get along well with glass. So you'll see me a little bit later take it off and super glue and hot glue the candlestick to the flower. Next, I pushed up all the petals on the flower, and I'm gonna paint this entire thing with 2 coats of Waverly white chalk paint. Now, if you caught my video of 4 ways to use these metal flowers, I posted it about a month ago. I can go ahead and link it in the description box and at the end of this video. But one thing I found out that the easiest way to paint this is to do it layer by layer. So what you want to do is you want to paint 1 layer. So there I am painting the bottom, and then I'm going to dry it with my hairdryer, and then I'm going to give it the second coat. After that's dry, I'll move to the middle layer and then finally the top layer. I just found that it was way easier to paint it like that instead of keep moving those petals up and down. So, like I said, I just gave this 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in white. After my flower was all painted, I gave 2 coats of the white Waverly chalk paint to the candlestick as well. Okay, so here's where you'll see that I was fighting the candlestick and realized about the whole glass and hot glue thing. So I'm just adding some super glue to the top, and then I'm going to add some hot glue to the top as well. And then I'll push that in the middle of the wood on the back of my flower. Next, I put that aside to let it set, and I grabbed this cute little bird that I actually got at Dollar General, and it was only $1. So I went ahead and gave that 2 coats of the Waverly white chalk paint as well. Once all my pieces were dry, it was now time to assemble it. So all I did was simply hot glue the bird on the petal that had the hole in it. I did this so I would hide the hole, and it worked. So I just put a generous amount of hot glue, I held it on there, and then I just went back and reinforced some of the parts that the bird was touching the petals, the other petals, with some hot glue. So I actually was able to hot glue those 2 petals on either side of the bird on the bird's feet, and that really helped to secure it. I have not had a problem with this falling off since, and I think it's because I put a ton of hot glue. Finally, to give it that rustic look, I took my antique Waverly wax and my favorite distressing brush and just dry brushed some of that wax all over this entire piece. Now, I did go a little darker around the edges of the flower, the bird, and the candlestick, so that way it just highlighted that a little bit more. Now, I did go over some of the darker parts of the Waverly wax with some white paint. That way it all blended in. But I absolutely loved how this came out. Now, it is supposed to be a bird feeder. I don't think I would actually use it as one because my piece is a little bit smaller than the Kirkland's piece, but I still think that it is super cute. Now, if I wasn't trying to dupe this exactly, I would have actually probably left some of the color because, you know me, I'm not farmhouse and I love color, but I still think that this came out super cute. So now I'm going to show you the one from Kirkland's. They are charging $29.99 and mine only cost $3. What do you think? For my next Kirkland's dupe, we're going to make a really cute summer sign. So I started off with this Easter sign, and it is one of the longer ones, and I plucked off his feet, his bow, and his eyes. So then I cut the string off the top, the twine hanger, and then I'm going to give this 2 really good coats of white Waverly chalk paint. Once that was painted, I set it aside and let it dry. Next, I took this little box. Now, I already had one that I had made a craft with that never made it to a YouTube video, and so I'm just going to use that. But that mermaid one is what it looks like at the Dollar Tree. So all I need from this box is the top of it, the little curved, looks like half moon. So I just turned it around, and then using my hair dryer, I scraped off the tag. Then I measured just where the box is and drew a line, and then just by using a knife, I scored it about 3 or 4 times, and then I was able to just kind of break it off. After that, I used my scissors to clean up the edges, and then I also sanded it down. Now, because I put hot glue around the edges of mine, I had to sand the whole thing down, but you probably won't have to do that. After that, I gave this 2 really good coats of white Waverly chalk paint. Once that was dry, I took my spring green paint from Apple Barrel and I went along the edges of the bottom. We're going to be making this look like a watermelon. So I at first started just going on the edges, and then I got a little bit on the top too, so I just went with it and I just made the rind, I guess that would be called, I'm not sure, of the watermelon just a little bit thicker. Next, I took my red paint from Apple Barrel and I mixed it with some white so that way it wasn't so bold red and it was just a lighter red. Now, I kind of went too light because it ended up kind of just being pink. So what I did was I started painting it on and then realized it was a little too pink, so I just added a little bit more red. It didn't really seem to change it much, so I just painted it with that color that I had, but I just painted the top section of my watermelon. While you watch me paint this watermelon, I just want to welcome you. If you are new to my channel, I am so happy that you joined me today. And if you're a subscriber, thank you so much for being here again, and I hope that you love everything that you see. I want to thank everyone for all of the support that you've been giving me these past couple months. My page is almost to 4,000 subscribers, so I want to thank you so much for all of that wonderful support. I have loved this journey and I love sharing all of these ideas with all of you. So thank you. After that, I took some black acrylic paint and just drew on some little seeds. Finally, I made some little touch-ups to my little watermelon and then I put it to the side to let it dry. Next, I took my white board that was now dry and I took my ruler and I stuck it in the middle of my board. And then I just traced on both sides of my ruler and then moved it down so the lines went all the way across the board. Now, I always say that I purposely bought this ruler at the Dollar Tree because I really like the width. I feel like that would be the width of fake shiplap, so it's so easy for me to make the fake shiplap on my board by just using that ruler. Once I drew my lines, I just took my finger and smudged them. That way it all blended in and created that faux shiplap look. Next, I took these stencils that I actually got from Amazon, and I'll definitely put the link in the description box. I love these. They are so easy to use, and they work really well. And I think they're either 2 or 3 inches or 4 inches. I don't remember. The link will be in the description box. So I went ahead and pulled out all of my letters because we're going to be spelling out the word summer. Now, the watermelon is actually going to be the U, so you only need SMER. I lined up all my stencils and I just threw that H in there to save the place of the second M. That way I had all my spacing ready to go. After that, I took just regular red acrylic paint and I stenciled on all of my letters. This is why I love these stencils. Look how pretty much clean those came out. Now, before I stenciled on the second M, I did wipe off that stencil and then I put it on my board because I didn't want any extra red paint getting on the board. So then I just went ahead and stenciled the second M on and all my letters were done. Next, I moved to the top of my board and used these smaller stencils that I got from the Dollar Tree, and by using my spring green paint, I spelled out the word sweet. Now you want to make sure to put the first E right in the middle of your board because that's what breaks center, and then work your way out on either side. Now, these letters did not end up being right in the center, but that's okay. It didn't really bug me. The T is a little further away from that E, but oh well, I guess it just makes it look rustic. So after that, I just went with my white paint and just touched up any of the marks that were there that weren't supposed to be. And then I decided that I wanted my letters to just stick out a little bit more. So I took my black Sharpie and just traced out all of my letters. Then to tie my watermelon in with the letters, I decided to take my Sharpie and just kind of color in around the edges. That way it brought out that black and would match all of the other letters. Now, the sign at Kirkland's did not have that rustic look, but you know me, I had to do it. I really tried not to make it look rustic, but I just had to. So I went ahead and sanded the whole thing down to kind of dull down the letters. And I also sanded down the watermelon so that way that looked a little bit rustic and antique too. Oh, there's my little ladybug, just cleaning up all that little sawdust. Link is in the description box if you want to pick yourself up one. So cute. Next, I went ahead and I hot glued my watermelon down underneath my S. Next, to add more of that rustic touch, I took some black acrylic paint and my makeup sponge and just dabbed the edges of my board. Now, I started off light and then I went ahead and kind of went a little darker. I did go heavier in some spots too, but I really just wanted this little antique look, and so I just did this all around my board. Then after that, I did go into the middle of my board and just randomly put some black marks throughout that too. Then to finish this off, I decided that the green letters kind of looked weird without being outlined, so I went ahead and used my Sharpie to outline that too. I love this sign. I'm really glad that I kind of made it a little bit rustic because that's more my style, but I absolutely love it. I think that this is so summery, and I really love the touch of the watermelon because everything I see is lemons or bees, which I love too, but I thought this was different. Here's the sign from Kirkland's. Now, I could not find the link on the website after I took this screenshot because I took this screenshot a while ago. So I don't know if they sold out, but I'm not sure how much it cost. But mine really only was probably $2 plus paints. But what do you think? This next one is super easy. So I started off with this mini pitcher that I got from the Dollar Tree, and you guys, I love these. They come in pink and blue and white, and I picked up several so I can use them for a bunch of DIYs. I was so excited to find these, but I really needed to get that image off of there, so I just used my 100% acetone and a paper towel, and it wiped right up. I was so surprised with how easy that came up, but look at that. Now it's just one plain white pitcher. So after that, I took some rub-on transfers that I got from the Dollar Tree, and these are the ones that have like the leafy greenery, I guess, and I simply just rubbed these on. Now, I did not have enough to go around my whole pitcher, only just one side of it, but had I had enough, I would have gone around the whole thing, but that's okay. I'll just display it with that side showing. So I just cut them out to size and then simply rubbed it on. It was that easy. I got all my rub-ons on my pitcher, I took some yellow acrylic paint and the bottom of a small paintbrush, and I just put polka dots all over each one of these. Now I did yellow, and then you'll see I switched to blue, but I did yellow, blue, and that was it. That completed this picture, and I love how this came out. Now, again, I could not find the actual listing or the website, the web page for this picture, but here's the screenshot I had on my phone. Now, granted, it's probably the size of an actual picture, and mine is mini, but I really wanted to replicate it. So, what do you think? This next DIY was a lot of fun to do. So I picked up this vase from the Dollar Tree, and then I had these handles left over from a basket that I had cut up. Now you do not have to add the handles. I'm just trying to make it look as much like the Kirkland's piece as possible, but I cut them down so they were somewhat the same size, and then by using my super glue and hot glue, I glued them on to the sides of my vase. Next, I took my nutmeg apple barrel paint and I put a good amount into a bowl, and then I put some elephant gray apple barrel paint in the bowl too, and then I put some baking soda. I'm gonna try to go for that cement look. Now, I wish I could tell you measurements. I really don't know. You just kind of have to add paint and baking soda until you get the texture that you need. So I just kept doing that and until I got what I needed. So you can see that it got a little bit too dried up, so then I added more paint, and then I'm just gonna keep stirring it and just adding until I get the texture that I needed. So once I got it to the consistency that I liked, I went ahead and started painting it on, but as you can see, it didn't really work. So then I decided that I needed to go ahead and paint a base coat on my vase first. So what I did was I added a bunch more nutmeg paint into that mixture, and then I just kind of brushed over it. Then you're going to see that I add a lot more paint just directly on the vase, and I paint this whole thing with one coat of that nutmeg paint. So once I had my vase painted with that base coat, I went back to my mixture and it kind of dried up a little bit, so I just kept adding paint until I got it back to the texture that I needed. And what you need is just like cement, like exactly what you think the consistency of cement would be. Now the piece from Kirkland's was more gray than it was brown, so I decided to add my Waverly chalk paint elephant gray to this mixture to lighten it up just a little bit and make it look more like cement and not so brown. So once I had that all mixed together, and I'm going to show you a closer look of what it should look like, then I took just a regular kitchen sponge and I cut off a little piece, and then I simply just dabbed this mixture all over my vase. And I love how this texture came out. It is so cool. I mean, honestly, look at that. I mean, that just looks like cement right there. I mean, it is a little browner than cement, but don't worry, we're gonna do something about that in a minute. But how neat is that? I just love that. Also, I want to remind you, if you're loving what you're seeing today, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up because it really helps my channel to grow. But not only that, it tells YouTube that you like my content and that you want to see more. So some of my videos will pop up in your YouTube feed. It's all about the algorithm. So don't forget to hit that like button. So like I said, this is a little browner than what I wanted. So I took my steel Waverly chalk paint and I just did the same thing. Now I did let that brown coat dry first, and then I went over that whole thing with the steel. Now it looks like it's pretty thick on right now, like the gray is pretty dark. So all you do is you just keep dabbing it until you get the look you're going for. So that's exactly what I did. I just kept dabbing it and just kind of mixing the two colors together, so that original mixture and then the gray. I did make it heavier, darker in some places and lighter in some others, but it's really just up to however you like it and whatever you want it to look like. Then I did go in and add some black just to add a little bit more dimension, and I thought this came out so cool. Now they have succulents in there, so I went ahead and stuck some succulents in mine as well, which I also got from the Dollar Tree, and I think this totally completed, and I gotta say, I think it came pretty close to this Kirkland's one right here for $59.99. Now I love that. Obviously this one is bigger than mine, but still I think I kind of achieved the same look. But you tell me, what do you think? For the last DIY dupe, I started off by using this pack of the long skewers that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. I took 4 and I simply cut them each in half with my miter shears. After I had all of my skewers cut down, I piled them on top of each other at a point and just added a ton of hot glue. So I started with 2 and then I added the third one, but I had it kind of like a tripod, if that makes sense. So I had it angled up. And then I went ahead and added a bunch of hot glue, and then I added one on the other side. So all 4 of them came to a point at the top. Now, while I was constructing this, I literally was saying out loud, I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but this was just the only way that I could think of to make all 4 of these come together so that way it would stand up. Next, after all 4 of them were glued at the top, I took this sign that I got from the Dollar Tree, and it has a removable inside. So I removed the inside and then I put the skewers inside of that frame. And then I just added a ton of hot glue and pushed the skewers to the corners. That way it all stayed together. After my bottom was attached, I moved up to the top, and by using the remaining skewers that I had cut off earlier, I measured them to each side of the top of this little well, I guess it's not a tripod, this little stand. And then I went ahead and cut them down and then hot glued each one of them on the inside of each of the skewers. Now you need to make sure that when you are gluing your sticks on these skewers that you glue them evenly going around, so that way it makes one big square going around all of your skewers. After that was done, I painted this entire base with 2 coats of black acrylic paint. Now, I did have to sand down that little box at the bottom because it was very shiny. It was kind of like a plasticky kind of material, so I did sand it down so that way the paint would stick, and it did seem to work. But I did go ahead and give that 2 coats, and thinking about it, I actually got away with just 1 coat on all of the actual real wood, so all of the sticks. But for that bottom square, the frame at the bottom, I definitely needed 2 coats. After that was painted, I put it off to the side and let it dry. Next, I grabbed one of these metal flowers again, and this time this one is on a stick, so I did have to use my wire cutters to get the stick off. So all I had to do was score it, and then I was able to bend it back and forth, and then eventually it went ahead and broke off. Next, I took some white Waverly chalk paint and I dry brushed some of that over each one of these petals. Now, because I was not painting this entire thing, I didn't worry about moving all the petals up and down and getting into all of the nooks and crannies. I just was trying to dry brush over it, but I did want some of the yellow to show through. After that, I took some of my nutmeg apple barrel paint and I painted the inside of my flower. Now, I don't know where the footage of this next part went, but I also took a little bit of yellow paint and just kind of dry brushed little dots in there to make it look like the sunflower seeds. So in order to get this to attach to my stand, I did have to cut up some craft sticks to create a base, because there is a dip in the middle of that metal flower. So after I got my base put on, I just added a ton of hot glue and hot glued it to the top of my base, so at the point. And I just added hot glue to the entire thing. Now I did eventually add some duct tape to the back because I just did not trust it, and it really seemed to work. I mean, it's holding up really well. But I really love this. I think it is so cute. I'm thinking I'm going to give it to my sister because she loves sunflowers, so I really love this. Now, the one at Kirkland's was actually metal, so that's going to explain why, of course, it was $129.99, and they have a lot more rods, but I just decided to go with this because I thought it would be a little simpler and definitely not as expensive. But what do you think? I I had so much fun creating all of these Kirkland dupes. They are definitely great for summer, and I am so ready to decorate with some bright colors and just spread some cheer throughout the house. I don't know which one my favorite is. I mean, I really do love all of them, but I think it might be either this picture right here or that sweet summer sign with the watermelon. I think those are super cute, but honestly, I love them all. You're gonna have to let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite, and also if you're planning to maybe recreate one of these or something else from Kirkland's. I would love to hear it. And also, don't forget that I do have a community page on Facebook that you can post all of your creations, and I would love to see them. Also, let me know down in the comments, do you like seeing dupe videos like this? Do you like seeing me trying to recreate items from stores? I really love doing that. I love it when I'm inspired to create stuff. So let me know if you want to see more, and I will absolutely do it. So I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that little notification bell so you're notified anytime I upload a new video. Also, if you loved what you saw today, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It truly helps my channel to grow. Well, I hope that you got a ton of ideas and that you are inspired to make your own crafts and to decorate your own home. Until I see you again, I'll craft with you soon. Bye!